Hello friends, I'm Mrs. Manjusha Boravke from Deccan Education Society School. Today, I'm going to teach you the poem The Night of the Scorpion written by Nasim Ezekiel. So children, let's move on to the presentation. So friends, we are going to study the poem The Night of the Scorpion by Nasim Ezekiel. Here's an image of the poet Nasim Ezekiel. Now let's learn something about the poet. Nasim Ezekiel is the father of the post-independence Indian verse in English. He was born on 16th of December 1924 and he died on 9th of January 2004. He was an Indian Jewish poet, editor and art critic. He was a foundational figure in the post-colonial India's literary history, specifically for Indian poetry in English. To his credit, he has some literary works. Most famous of them are Latter-day Psalm, Hymns in Darkness, collection of poems, Time to Change, 60 poems, The Unfinished Man, 3 plays, The Exact Name. He received the Padma Shri Award in 1983. It is the 4th highest civilian award in the Republic of India. It is awarded by the Government of India every year on India's Republic Day in recognition of their distinguished contribution in various spheres of activity like arts, education, industry, literature, science, sports, etc. He also received the Sahitya Academy Award in 1988. It is a literary honor in India which the Sahitya Academy annually confers on writers of the most outstanding books of literary merit. Now children, let's see the special features of the poem. This poem is written in free verse. It does not have any rhyme scheme. The poem has a conversational tone. It is typically Indian in setting and theme. It is written in English but has an Indian flavor. It is the most beautiful poem of Nasim Ezekiel. Today we find that superstitious and blind beliefs still exist in India. Many people are superstitious. This means that they have beliefs for which they have no logical reasons. For example, here I have noted down certain superstitions and what they imply. For example, smashing a mirror brings you 7 years of bad luck. Walking under a ladder brings bad luck. Knocking on wood prevents disappointment. Bird droppings on head brings you monetary gains. Cat crosses your path, your task is delayed. Hanging a leaven with 7 green chilies, wards off misfortunes. A crow cawing in front of the door is an intimation of guest coming home. Now children, do some brainstorming of what you know about the scorpions, how they look, their appearance, where they live, and extra information. Where do they live? They live in semi-arid regions having very dry climate where there is dampness and darkness, usually under the rocks, cracks, and the gaps of doors or plumbing pipes. They hide in damp places by squeezing themselves into very small places that are dark, quiet, and unused for a long time. How they attack? They hide in places that are dark and gloomy. They part with their poison in a flash. The poison is in the tail of the scorpion. Scorpions generally attack in self-defense. How do they look? Scorpions have 8 legs. They have large pincers and a long tail with a venomous stinger at the end. The outer covering is hard that comes in a variety of colors like black, brown, yellow, green, etc. The scorpions are a poisonous species. There are many kinds of scorpions. They have a wide variety of habitats in the extreme temperatures. Nasim Ezekiel touchingly communicates his childhood experience in this poem, The Night of the Scorpion. This poem is taken from his collection of poems, The Exact Name. He describes a mother's selfless love for her children. Despite having been bitten by a scorpion herself and narrowly escaping death, she is thankful to God that the scorpion had bitten her and spared her children. The poem captures the essence of rural India with its superstitions and simplicity. It has a battle of ideas fought at night between the good and the evil, darkness and light, rationalism and blind faith. This poem is written in a narrative style. It seems that the poet narrates his own experience. The poem focuses on a single episode in the life of an Indian family residing in a rural area. A scorpion has been forced by persistent rain to seek refuge inside the house under the sack of rice. It ends up by stinging the mother, maybe in self-defense. In this poem, evil is symbolized by the scorpion. A flash of diabolic tail in the dark room is a symbol of evil. Now, children, let's recite the poem, The Night of the Scorpion. I remember the night my mother was stung by a scorpion. 10 hours of steady rain had driven him to crawl beneath a sack of rice. Parting with his poison, flash of diabolic tail in the dark room, he risked the rain again. The peasants came like swarms of flies and buzzed the name of God 100 times to paralyze the evil one. With candles and with lanterns throwing giant scorpion shadows on the mud-baked walls, they searched for him. He was not found. They clicked their tongues, and with every movement that the scorpion made, his poison moved in the mother's blood, they said. May he sit still, they said. May the sins of your previous birth be burnt away tonight, they said. May your sufferings decrease the misfortunes of your next birth, they said. May the sum of all evil balanced in this unreal world against the sum of good become diminished by your pain. May the poison purify your flesh of desire and your spirit of ambition, they said. And they sat around on the floor with my mother in the center, the peace of understanding on each face. More candles, more lanterns, more neighbors, more insects, and the endless rain. My mother twisted through and through, groaning on a mat. My father, skeptic rationalist, trying every curse and blessing, powder, mixture, herb, and hybrid. He even poured a little paraffin upon the bitten toe and put a match to it. I watched the flame feeding on my mother. I watched the holy man performing his rites to tame the poison with an incantation. After 20 hours, it lost its sting. My mother only said, "Thank God the scorpion picked on me and spared my children." Now, children, you must have experienced that this poem generates layers of tension as the drama progresses. The scorpion is seen by some as an evil force, bringer of pain and hardship, and even death. The desperate creature stings the woman and makes off out into the rain, as he also is sure that the search for him will begin shortly. Now, children, let's understand the poem stanza wise. I remember the night my mother was stung by a scorpion. 10 hours of steady rain had driven him to crawl beneath a sack of rice. Parting with his poison flash of diabolic tail in the dark room, he risked the rain again. Steady rain means continuous rain. It was raining continuously. It was pouring, and that was a very dreadful night for the poet. He still remembers the night, and he says that that night his mother was stung by the scorpion. Maybe because of the incessant rain, the scorpion had entered the house and crawled beneath the sack of rice in order to protect himself from the rain. Parting with his poisonous flash of diabolic tail having the qualities of a devil. Maybe his mother went to the sack of rice to remove some rice to cook, and the scorpion stung her. And as soon as he stung her, he understood that the search for him would begin. And so he risked the rain. He went out in the rain again. The news of the scorpion bite spread very fast. The peasants came like swarms of flies and buzzed the name of God 100 times to paralyze the evil one. To paralyze, to stop the activity of the scorpion. The evil one, the scorpion. With candles and with lanterns throwing giant scorpion shadows on the mud-baked walls, they searched for him. He was not found. They clicked their tongues. With every movement that the scorpion made, his poison moved in mother's blood, they said. The news of the scorpion bite soon spread out very fast, and the neighbors, that is the neighboring people, the peasants staying in the neighborhood, kept on pouring, coming in just like the incessant rain. They came in large numbers. Hence, the poet uses the simile, came like swarms of flies. They had a primitive impulse to help the mother. And so they came with candles and lanterns and company, which shows a willingness to search for the scorpion and to share the pain. They believed that as the scorpion moved, his poison would move in the mother's blood and they would cause more and more pain to the mother. May he sit still, they said. May the sins of your previous birth be burnt away tonight, they said. May your suffering decrease the misfortunes of your next birth, they said. May the sum of all evil, balanced in this unreal world against the sum of good, become diminished by your pain. Now here, misfortunes means bad luck. Diminished means to lessen or to reduce. They all expressed their superstitious views, their blind faiths. They prayed to God to forgive mother for her sins of the previous birth. Here we see the superstitions of the people. They hoped that the scorpion would sit still. They hoped that the sins of her previous birth would be burnt away that night. They prayed that the present suffering of the mother would decrease any misfortunes in her next birth. They hoped that the balance of the sum of all the evil in this world against the sum of good would be diminished by her pain. May the poison purify your flesh of desire and your spirit of ambition, they said, and they sat around on the floor with my mother in the center, the peace of understanding on each face. Now here, peace of understanding means a feeling of satisfaction that they have tried everything to save the mother. They prayed that the poison would purify her flesh of any desire and her spirit of any ambition. They sat around the floor with the mother in the center, and there was a peace of understanding on every face. The understanding that they had done their best to save mother from the pain and the trouble and the suffering. More candles, more lanterns, more neighbors, more insects, and the endless rain. My mother twisted through and through, groaning on a mat. Twisted, moved helplessly in pain. Groaning, mournful sound conveying pain. As time passed, more and more people poured in, and more insects came along with the candles and the lanterns. As it was raining heavily, there were a lot of insects, and all these candles and lanterns attracted the insects. So, along with the people, insects also came in the house, and the rain kept on pouring and pouring. And here, mother lay on the floor, twisting through and through, groaning on the mat with severe pain. The rain continued endlessly. More and more people came to help with more candles and lanterns, attracting more insects. Now, my father's skeptic rationalist trying every curse and blessing, powder, mixture, herb, and hybrid. He even poured a little paraffin upon the bitten toe and put a match to it. I watched the flame feeding on my mother. I watched the holy man perform his rites to tame the poison with an incantation. Now here skeptic means doubtful. Rationalist means a person who believes in reason and knowledge. Rites is rituals. Tame means to control. Incantation, chanting of words claiming to have magical power. Now the poet's father is a rationalist, a person who believed in reason and knowledge, and he doubted all the things. He was not a superstitious person. However, at this time, he too was in panic. He too tried every curse and blessing to save his wife. He left no stone unturned to cure her. He used powder, mixture, herb, hybrid to help her recover from the pain. He could not see her in pain. He even poured a little paraffin upon the bitten toe and then put fire on it in an attempt to remove the poison. The poet felt pain to see the flames feeding, burning on the skin of the mother. He as a child was sad to see his mother suffering in pain. He also watched the holy man perform his rites to tame the poison with incantation. Then a tantric was brought and he performed certain rites to tame the poison. He said certain mantras. He chanted certain incantations. And the phrase again refers to the superstitious people of his village who believed in irrational measures to cure a person bitten by a scorpion. All this time, mother was groaning and groaning in pain. After 20 hours, it lost its sting. My mother only said, "Thank God, the scorpion picked on me and spared my children." Picked means stung. Spared, refrained from biting. Ultimately, after 20 hours, the power of the poison reduced, and finally, the mother felt better. The last line of the poem is quite emotional and heart-touching. It reflects the motherhood of a lady. Her only response at the end of it all was her gratitude that it didn't happen to anyone else in the family. She thanked God that the scorpion had picked on her and spared her children. Even in such condition, his mother remained more concerned about the safety and health of her children. The last line upholds the dignity of Indian motherhood. The entire poem can be taken as a tribute to the incomparable love of a mother. The antagonist of the poem is the scorpion, who is forgiven by the speaker very early on arrival, since he was indoors simply for survival, with no intention of biting or stinging anyone. This poem is a beautiful example of imagery. The poet has used various kinds of imagery to create an image which appeals to our senses. So children, let's move on to the poetic devices. I remember the night my mother was stung by a scorpion. 10 hours of steady rain had driven him to crawl beneath a sack of rice. Parting with his poison, flash of diabolic tale in the dark room. Diabolic tale is a transferred epithet. The adjective diabolic has been transferred to the tail. The peasants came like swarms of flies. Your light shows simile. It is also hyperbole and over-exaggerated statement. Pass the name of God 100 times. Here it is hyperbole and onomatopoeia. With candles and lanterns throwing giant scorpion shadows on the mud-baked walls, metaphor. They searched for him, he was not found. Him and he stand for the same, that is the scorpion. So it is tautology. It is alliteration also because the H sound is repeated. They clicked their tongues, onomatopoeia. Clicked gives you a sound. May he sit still. Alliteration. The sound of the letter S is repeated for poetic effect. May your sufferings decrease the misfortunes of your next birth in virgin. May the sum of all evil balanced in this unreal world against the sum of good become diminished by your pain. Antithesis. Evil and good are the opposite words used in this line. May the poison purify your flesh. The sound of P is repeated and so it is alliteration. More candles, more lanterns, more neighbors, more insects and the endless rain. The word more is repeated for poetic effect. My mother twisted through and through. The word through is repeated for poetic effect and so it is repetition. I watched the flame feeding on my mother. This personification. The flame is personified to be feeding on his mother. After 20 hours, it lost its sting. It is inversion. Now, appreciation of the poem. This poem, The Night of the Scorpion, is written by Nasim Ezekiel and is published in his book, The Exact Name. The poem revolves around the theme of an Indian village on a rainy night wherein a scorpion enters a house in order to take shelter. It stings the mother and the whole poem revolves around that scene. In this poem, the poet depicts the selfless and unconditional love of the mother who is stung by the scorpion. The poem is written in free verse and does not have any rhyme scheme. There are many figures of speech such as onomatopoeia, simile, alliteration, metaphor, antithesis, and many more. The poem generates layers of tension as the drama progresses and has a beautiful twist at the end. The poem is narrative and full of imagery. The poet has indeed used very powerful and colloquial language. The mother's dignified response at the end of the poem is both humble and inspiring, and hence it is the most beautiful poem of Nasim Ezekiel. This poem is a beautiful example of imagery. The poet has used various kinds of imagery to create an image which appeals to our senses. Let's discuss them. Examples of visual imagery appealing to the eyes. Scorpion crawling beneath a sack of rice, with candles and lanterns throwing giant scorpion shadows. Tactile imagery, that is a sense of touch. I watched the flame feeding on my mother. Father pouring paraffin on the toe. Sound imagery, buzz the name of God. They click their tongues. Internal sensations and feelings and emotions is fear and pain. So hence, children, as we read the poem, the whole poem stands in the form of imagery in front of your eyes and you are really able to experience the beautiful imagery of the poem. I hope you have understood the poem. Now you are supposed to complete the activities given after the poem in your textbook. Thank you very much.